What's going on, everybody? Today is February 4th, 2021, and this is episode 34 of Got Our Attention podcast. So I'm here with Brian, always causing a muck. Brian, are you here?
Causing a muck.
I think.
Talking about beans and year 2K, sure.
Yeah, that was an interesting conversation we just had. He was telling me that he ate some refried beans from 2003 today in our year of 2021. So,
yes.
All right, we'll see how that goes.
They're canned. Canned is fun.
We're also here with Bruno. Bruno, you're here. Also, I think you have a co-guest with you.
Yeah, this is Drakar with me. He's gonna do all the talking.
Sweet.
He's the co-commentator.
Co-commentator. Okay.
He's a very good ventriloquist, so it's gonna sound like I'm the one saying it, but it's him.
It's funny. It's like there was an old F1 game back on like PlayStation, and I remember like you could turn on. There was like a cheat code to turn on the commentators that were talking. It's like these two guys like, yeah, you're right there, Murray. You're right there, Bob. And all this stuff, and like it was funny because you turn the commentators on, and there's only one guy that's actually making all the voices.
You're right there.
Yeah, like that's it. The only one character made the voices. The other guy did not. So it was like he was actually voicing the other person too. So that was pretty interesting. But yeah, that's what it reminded me of. So it's like that. It's like he's just there. He's gonna hang out, but he's not really gonna say anything.
Yeah, I mean, Dymyrn's the straight man. Drakar's the funny guy.
He's just gonna eat fries. Loves them.
Fries. If you could actually see, I mean, like all you see is this black mass with this little white nose, like white on either side of the nose.
It's like an opposite polar bear.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
See, I'm very observant. See, you guys don't think that, but I am.
No, you're not. You're occasionally witty.
Oh man. So the news this week was kind of interesting. There wasn't a whole lot of.
I noticed the difference in the layout.
There wasn't a whole lot of large news things going on.
But huge.
The way that it always works, Thursday comes around and then we get like slammed with all these new like articles that are coming out and things that we want to talk about. And then we also got some other things that we want to talk about later that we will add in when we can. So so starting this week, first story is about Nintendo, actually. So there was word this week that Nintendo basically had they joined a Twitch feed for the New York Gaming Awards, and it was the former president of Nintendo, Reggie Fils-Aimé, I think I pronounced that right. Fils-Aimé, and then he was also on there. They had Jack Tretton from Sony, also Robbie Bach from Microsoft. And they were just talking about all kinds of different things, or asking them kind of like an interview, nonchalant kind of way. And one of the things that Reggie had actually brought up was that the Switch was basically a make or break product for Nintendo, which, we're thinking, sure, but at the same time, it's Nintendo. Like, they've always been around. They've always had consoles. People always loved Nintendo. You're always going to have that fan base. But for the fact that, this is literally the console they need to have happen, because if not, this could potentially be the end of Nintendo for at least console related stuff. So the comment, the quote here is, Nintendo has done so many innovations in the space. I think what Nintendo did with the Switch after the poor performance of the Wii U, I think to me and what I was part of, that was my lasting memory. People forget when the Wii U launched, the performance over that life cycle was poor. It was the worst selling platform. I think maybe Virtual Boy was a little worse, but Wii U underperformed pretty radically in the market. And when your only business is video games, that next had to be successful, and the Switch continued to be a dynamic platform, selling exceptionally well, and the ability for the company to come up with a concept to bring it to life and to bring it to the marketplace to have not only great first-party content, but great third-party content and independent developer content. That is going to be something I'll always be proud of. And he said, along with so many other things that I was a part of, but the Switch really was a make or break product for the company, and luckily it was a hit. So that was very interesting to hear from, somebody who was there, the president of Nintendo during that time when, we expected the Wii to come out. We expected the Wii U, something else after the Wii, and the Wii was a success. That was huge. The technological jump that they did because of the way to move the controller and how it tracked your sensors and everything like that. So, and then the Wii U came out and it really didn't make much of a difference other than there was a handheld console that you could pretty much kind of play along with the games. And they kind of used it later. I guess that same technology. They kind of thought about it like in the Nintendo DS, where you had like 2 maps and you could look at one, and that made more sense on a handheld level. But for like the Wii U, it's like you have this big, massive controller type, like almost like Switch in your hand that you kind of have to use for the game. But at the same time, it's not really, there's a screen, but it's really there for like extra things, like to see the map or something. It's not really like you're really using it a whole lot. So the fact that they actually pulled it off and then thought about like, hey, we should take that and make that the console. And it's like the Switch definitely took off, and that was super exciting to see. And then now knowing that this was kind of make or break for Nintendo, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the Wii U was a fascinating concept, and in some ways almost a prototype for a Switch. But at the same time, it suffered so badly from brand confusion. I mean, even like myself, who has had multiple consoles starting on the Xbox, almost one of every one from each generation from each manufacturer. And when a friend of mine got a Wii U, and even when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is the add-on to the Wii.
Right? Yeah, I mean, that's what it kind of looked like.
And they didn't even correct me. And I had no clue until like literally years later, that it was a different console. So, I mean, it was terrible. And I mean, this is again with, Reggie Fils-Aimé was there, or Fils-Aimé, brilliant guy. Do you know what he did before Nintendo?
I don't. No.
Oh. He actually worked in brand management. So you think he would realize that going from Wii to Wii U would be bad. But and then he was the senior director of national marketing at Pizza Hut.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Where he launched the Bigfoot pizza.
Wow.
Which is also appropriate for him because the man is a monster. He's huge.
Huge.
He's big McLarge huge.
Big McLarge. So this.
But yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
So that same Twitch interview they were doing for the New York Games Awards. Like I said, there was other people there along with Reggie. There was the guy from Sony, the guy from, in this case, Microsoft. And when they interviewed Robbie Bach from Microsoft, he was a former president of the Entertainment and Devices Division at Microsoft, and also the chief Xbox officer. And they had talked to him about word that they had thought about maybe potentially trying to buy or somehow acquire Nintendo at a point, and which they thought was kind of hilarious because Nintendo's huge. Like, who would Nintendo sell out to, right? And his quote was, in the early days of the Xbox concept, Microsoft didn't want to do hard work. They just wanted something we knew how to do. And so the idea was there. We were looking for partners. And we talked to all the PC manufacturers. We talked to Sega, and we went and talked to Nintendo. Mm-hmm. They were the big kids on the block for sure. And by the way, they were across the street from our offices, so it wasn't like we had to make a long trip to go see them. So after we had conversation, and the reaction we got was probably what we expected. Microsoft didn't have at all much to bring to the table. Nintendo was successful and always had been sort of a self-contained company. Does a lot to let out their own content, but Bob and his team explored every angle. Ultimately, we decided to go into hardware, which was sort of the last option. I know that sounds kind of goofy, but we weren't a hardware company, and so for us to decide we wanted to manufacture hardware was a huge commitment. And we tried a lot of different ways to not include that, or not ways to not do that. And in the end, we had to do it ourselves. So he kind of goes in a little bit more, and he says, ironically, the number of people who were telling us we should do hardware was actually third-party publishers. People like EA and Activision and those guys, they wanted someone to compete with Sony and Nintendo. So having a third person in the marketplace was good for them, and they didn't want someone to do what 3DO did, which was license their hardware to other people. They wanted someone to actually had a skin on a game on the hardware. Excuse me. So we had potential partners who said no, and then B, we had third party publishers who said you got to do it yourself. So that's what we did. So it was interesting to see that they actually did think about acquiring Nintendo, because they just didn't want to get into hardware. Like, that wasn't their plan. And now interestingly enough, like they're not really, I wouldn't say in the hardware space as much. Like they're really just trying to get all of, like we were saying before with all the other things, just the services, like the things that make reoccurring money, like that income that's going to be repetitive, where you pay for services, whether it's Xbox Game Pass or Xbox Live, or even buying the console but having third-party apps on there. So
or even just getting you into the infrastructure that you like the infrastructure, so you make your future purchases in the infrastructure.
Yeah. So pretty cool.
All of this makes perfect sense. I mean, that's how it's been almost from the beginning, that, Microsoft is a software company. Sony is a hardware company. Sony makes pretty much fantastic hardware. And not to say that Microsoft makes terrible hardware. It's just that Microsoft's strength has always been the software side. That's obvious even in this generation. I go to my new Xbox and I load up Hitman and I'm like, I want to play Hitman, and it loads in the latest version of it for that, for the current generation hardware. All the add-ons I purchased automatically, I'll just load in. It's just magically there, and I play it. And then I go and I look at other people that are like playing Hitman on PlayStation 5, and they're like, okay, I got Hitman installed. Now I gotta go back to the store, and I gotta go to this. I gotta search especially for this DLC pass or something like that, and I click on that. Then it loads my old stuff in, and it's like this piecemeal stuff. I'm like, no, you're doing it all wrong. Go into the game and use the menu in game. It's faster. It's like there's two different ways, and I'm like, I'm just looking at this stuff. I'm like, this is insane. And that's just one. I mean, we've ourselves talked about differences similar to that in the past, where just the software is so much more coordinated and better on one side and not on the other side. I was even yelling at my TV the other day, some other, podcast I was listening to, and they're like, I can't, the PS Plus isn't even on the menu of the PS5 at the top. And I'm like, no, it is. It totally is. That's the one thing they did right. It's right up there at the top. And now I don't know if that's just something that I selected at one point and it's an option and they didn't select that option.
It's on mine. It was on mine out of the rip. I literally turned it on, went through the setup, and it was there. It offered me to download everything from my PS4. I hit download, it downloaded it all, loaded it all up, and then everything was there before that. I got to see the menu showed everything there. Then it had the little options and the what's next tutorial thing. I clicked it, and just boom, everything's there. I thought it was really cool. They actually had it set up to where I could choose what I cared about that was on my PS4. So like I had multiple games installed, and I was like, well, I don't give a fuck about any of these games. I just want Neo 2, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, and Monster Hunter. And it was just like, all right, here you go. And it just threw it all in there.
Whatever game I can make myself hate my life for. Yeah, that's pretty much.
Yeah, and so that is one of the things that they did right, is getting the PS Plus up at the top. They're a little bit better at cloud saves. Xbox still beats the shit out of them for cloud saves, but they're not terrible anymore. There was another thing, like there was this reoccurring thing that has happened over and over again with PS5 that is for the most part a bit different on the Xbox, which is the Xbox. It's clear that you're playing a game that's made for the Xbox Series generation, current generation, versus the Xbox One. And with PlayStation, a lot of people are like, okay, I went and bought the game and it downloaded the PS4 version. and so that was a bit of a problem, and they sorted some of that out, and they've gotten a little bit better about it now. Now it'll like warn you, like, oh, you're about to play the PS4 version. Do you want to play the PS5 version ahead? Like that was one of our news stories in the past. Well, it's evolved even more. Now they've got a new system update out that fixes the PS4 disc upgrade issue, because there was this is from the beginning, before they even released the console. Both consoles said, hey, there's going to be a whole bunch of games on the current generation, now last generation, that when you put the disc into the next generation, that you'll automatically get upgraded. And PlayStation 5 has been having a massive problem with that. They had sometimes, not even all the time, which just makes it even more frustrating, when you put in a PS4 disc, it would download and install the PS4 version of the game instead of the PS5 version.
I'd be so pissed.
So now they have an update. And by the way, the update is nearly a gigabit in size to fix this. But it finally fixes it where it's going to download the appropriate new version for the disc that you put in place. Although, amusingly enough, when you look at the update notes, it says, this update is for system software update improves system and performance. Well, shit, that was just super helpful, wasn't it? It doesn't, like, people reading that wouldn't even know that they got something fixed here. But that is one of the things that they got fixed. But again, I'm not saying Sony's bad. I have one of each. I like both of them. We've said there's pros and cons on both, and they are both selling like gangbusters. And arguably, although they both are selling out everywhere, it seems like Sony is had a slight edge on producing them, which is good for them. They say that since their November launch until the end of year, they have sold 4.5 million PS5s.
All the scalpers.
Mostly the scalpers,
yeah.
That's for sure.
Are those like 3.7 million of those just pre-orders that haven't been met yet because they don't actually have the consoles?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, for those that have been paying attention and those that, like absolutely have been listening to the podcast and like, but Brian and Mike and Bruno, you've told us before that Sony said that they were going to have 12 million or 15 million during the launch window, and then that they downgraded it to like 11 million. Yes, the launch window is not over. The launch window is going to go at least to March. It's not just till the end of the year. So, be aware of that. They're only at 4.5 million right now, but they've got a ways to go. And in theory, the production should start to increase, as errors decrease, as naturally happens when you ramp up production. That should start going on as they work towards also the other thing that happens when you continue ramping up production is that the cost per unit decreases. Now, this is important because this is all in, it's a Polygon article that's actually quoting a Bloomberg article, which is hilarious. And they're talking about an analyst. So there's your first hefty dash assault. Is that an analyst looking at this made a guess? There's your second hefty dash assault that, or speculated is what they actually said, that Sony would break even on the $499 PlayStation 5, but lose money on the $399 digital edition that lacks an optical disc drive. Now, first of all, again, double dash assault there, because this is all speculation of whether they're losing money on the digital edition or not. But certainly the profit margin, no shit, is going to be less than, less on the digital edition, because it's $100 less, and the optical drive, whether it's high density Blu-ray or not, doesn't matter. It's not $100 optical drive.
Yeah.
I mean, those have been produced already for a significant amount of time. So the cost of those drives is going to be, I'd be shocked if it was like costing them $25 a unit for that thing. So when you drop in $75,
I'd be interested to see when the Sony's earnings come out to see what they say. Because obviously it's all speculation, but we have to see.
So you're saying that me getting that PS5 digital edition means that Sony didn't get as much money?
Correct.
Hell yeah. Take that, game company.
And it's interesting that you say this, Mike. Some of this is actually from their earnings release.
Okay.
And typically their earnings release aren't going down to a per unit loss or profit margin.
Right.
Their earnings releases are to stockholders, and they want to show the best, optimistic view to the stockholders. So if they are making a loss on a particular console, they're not necessarily going to quite plainly show it that way.
Well, I mean, that's fair, but I mean, at the same time, if you're not making profit, you're going to have to show that you're not making profit at some point. I mean, the numbers won't lie.
I mean, they're still making profit, though.
Well, they are, but not like, what they're saying, I guess.
Well, that's because, they show the division making profit, because if they break even on the one, which, again, that's speculation.
Yeah, makes sense.
But if they break even on one and make a loss on the other, they still make it up for spades on the software side, both between PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Now, and the actual licensing of the software to third-party licensors, and the selling of their own software as well. They tend to make it up quite a bit there. Somewhere, I was reading somewhere recently that they said 114 million PS Plus subscribers. So yeah, I mean that's like you said, the reoccurring revenue that we saw on the Xbox side, same on the PlayStation side.
Yeah. I mean the consoles are really almost just like a gimmick to be able to keep selling that service, because that's where all their money comes from now.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, driving
41.5 million.
A Jaguar versus a Lexus or something. I mean, it's the same concept. Like, they're both high-end products, but yet they're both still very high-end products in the sense of, like, you're going to get a nice quality, like, drive out of them, but it's really the service that they're looking for. It's that reoccurring, like, the Xbox Game Pass or the PlayStation Plus or whatever. That's where they're going to make their money from, because, once that console is sold, the console's sold until another gen console comes out. And that goes with everything, any product. But in this case, once a product's sold, that's it. There is no reoccurring income on that product unless there's like a service subscription, which in that case, it doesn't matter if
Microsoft
it's a
doesn't care as much, because they're like, we have this whole other avenue to keep our subscriptions going.
And we also have a console if you want it. I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
If you need a console, we have it. We can sell it to you. We've got windshield wipers. If you need to buy new windshield wipers,
one of the things Brian said earlier was that, like, Microsoft usually does the software and Sony does the hardware, but last gen, it was actually flipped a little bit when it came to their final installation, because if you compared, and I side by side compared Red Dead Redemption on
Xbox
One X and the PS4 Pro, and I'll fucking tell you right now, it's not a good comparison for Sony. It's quite bad. Like, everything just runs better on the Xbox One X. Like, it's just a superior console through and through. I don't know about the new iteration. I don't know if the PS5's better this time around or what.
I think this console generation is the closest it's ever been. Across the board. I think the hardware's the closest. I mean, you're gonna have, especially with third party, because I mean that's the only thing you can truly compare is third party titles, right? Because they're the only ones that typically are going to show up on both. But different third parties are going to have one that runs a little bit better or sometimes significantly better on one or the other. But it seems to come down that they're so darn similar. And this one runs better on Sony and this one runs better on Xbox, sure. And Sony has they've upped their game on the software. Yeah, I'm talking about like, oh, they had this dumb thing about like you download the wrong version. Sure, that's probably some launch window like normal jank that you see on every launch of every console.
Yeah, that's just like Cyberpunk when you don't have like a level or something where
and I don't know.
Cyberpunk's a different level of jank.
I don't know if maybe
get that shit out of here.
I don't know if maybe they changed it, but one of the stories we covered when the PS5 came out was there was that huge thing about like Sony is listening to you and like your PlayStation just auto listens to you.
Yeah,
when I got my PS5 and I booted that shit up and went through the setup process, one of the main things it asks you, and it asks it pretty fucking large. It comes up with this screen, and it's an accessibility screen, and it's like, hey, do you want to set up, first of all, one of them was, do you want to set up so that everybody can see everything? Just your friends? Or nobody? So, no privacy, some privacy, ultimate privacy. This controls who can view your videos, all this stuff.
Yes.
This also controls if you auto record videos. If you select the most private option, not only is there not going to be a way for people to see things, there's not going to be anything for anybody to fucking see because we're going to disable it for you.
Or hear.
Yeah.
And then
or hear from the mic and the controller.
That's the next thing is it asks is like for privacy settings, do you want your headset to like always listen, yes or no? And you can just choose no. And then it's just by default fucking off.
Yeah, and I think that
So
was
I was like,
mentioned.
what the fuck?
I think that was mentioned in the articles that we talked about previously. Was that this was something they showed you? It wasn't like you were just like it wasn't like a hidden thing that somebody found out. It's literally in the terms of service that you agree to, but most people don't read that stuff.
It wasn't even the terms of service.
Oh God, yeah,
it was
no one reads
blatant.
that.
It was
right.
Like
But I mean, it's
blatant in your
a
face.
beginning when you're starting a console. All you're doing is hitting start. Okay. I'm trying to get to the next screen so I can play. Like nobody's actually reading that material.
I say that one of the screen that asks you has the controller in the background with like a little sound thing emanating
and like rainbows and like unicorns and stuff. Like
I was like, what? Like, no, I do not want you to listen to me. And that controller feature is really cool because when I didn't have a headset connected yet, that thing literally just works. I just joined the party real quick while I was on lunch, and I was like, can you guys hear me? And they were like, yeah. But it came up and it was like, do you want to like use this as like? I was like, yes. And it just boom. And I could hear them pretty clear through the thing. And I was like, can you guys hear me? And they're like, yeah, you sound perfectly fine. I was like, what the fuck? This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that screen too, they had like Clippy come out. And, like Clippy was kind of walking you through.
Yeah. I can also tell you, not only has Sony upped their game on software and, Xbox's, especially with the Xbox One X previous generation, upped their game with hardware. The Xbox menu, it's so much faster. It is so much freaking faster, but holy shit, they've made it harder to get through. Like they totally made shit unintuitive to get through, whereas Sony's menu actually improved. So it again, I will say it, this is the closest generation between the two that I've ever seen, where they're damn near equal. This one has some pros, but they're just not that much more than the other side. And the other side has pros, and they're just not that much more than the other side. If you get either one of these, I'm sure you will have a blast and have fun. And at this point, the only thing that matters, and we were saying this even before they launched, do you like Sony's exclusives? Get a PlayStation. Do you like the Netflix for games idea? Then go Xbox and get Xbox Game Pass, or even do that for your PC.
Yeah, I mean, Xbox Game Pass on PC is, I mean, we use it. All three of us have it. It's phenomenal. The games they bring to that service, I mean, granted, some of those are for like a certain period of time or whatever, but like Medium just came out. Like I remember seeing the trailer not too long ago, and it's on Xbox Game Pass. I mean, it's
E3.
just so
or the E3, not the E3, but the E3 was canceled, but the E3 replacement that
actually, I think I may have even seen that at the PlayStation reveal. I feel like that was at the PlayStation 5 reveal video. Yeah. So it's like
I think it was the Xbox reveal or both.
I think it was PlayStation, though. I remember. But either way, it's a brand new game.
Yeah.
Like, and it's already there. So I mean, there's just, I mean, not saying that PlayStation doesn't have probably good stuff on the PlayStation now or Plus or whatever, but like it's just available.
You should
for me
stream
on PC.
that game, Mike.
I should not play it. Actually, yeah, it's a paranormal thing. Yeah, I'm good on that one. It's good. I'll watch it.
I love the advertisement for it that says, "Do you not like horror games?" And it's got one side.
Yeah.
And it looks pretty bad. And it says, "Do you like horror games?" It's even worse.
So.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Bruno.
Sorry, I was distracted by my co-host. He's doing this fucking thing, right? So like, he's smiling at me right now. But like, if I look at him, he'll stop smiling. If I look away,
he's waiting.
See, we can't see it. It's
again.
Too small.
There he goes.
A little bit, yeah. Like
it's just ridiculous to me.
That's just a happy dog.
Doge. You should invest in Dogecoin.
Whatever.
Yeah, well, in less happy
Buy
things,
the dip.
And unsurprising for that matter. All right, I should I should fucking. I'm gonna start this off by saying I've expressed.
We've got to copyright this. Because we got to copyright that Bruno's going to start his bullshit again.
Yep. This is Bruno starting his bullshit.
I have. Okay,
I can
so
play that clip. I have it.
The story that I'm about to talk about is about Amazon Game Studios, and in previous episodes of the podcast, I mentioned that I don't really have an issue with Amazon Game Studios in the sense of like Amazon having a game studio. I mean, cool. And my general stance is Amazon, massive corporation. Bezos himself was like, fund a game division, throw money at it, be the best. Like that was legitimately Bezos' idea, like actually his idea. There's like information about it. He legitimately was like, I want to have the most innovative fucking games on the planet, because if we bring more people in, we can start bundling shit with the Prime service. Boom, more money, more Prime users, higher subscriptions, even more money, revenue. Perfect, great, fantastic. The problem is there's no fucking heart in it. They just like went around and they dragged a bunch of people out of companies that they were working in, offering them more money, who were notable people from like teams that worked on Far Cry, Portal, stuff like that. They actually brought these teams in to create their games. And in case you haven't followed their track record so far, or you don't know about it, it's fucking awful. As in, they don't have a single successful game. Of the multiple games they've tried and failed to make, which most people think, like the average person thinks there's 2. There's actually, I think, 5. So 2 of them didn't even make it out the fucking gate. Like, one of them was a League of Legends ripoff. It was inspired by League of Legends. My apologies for the misphrasing, Amazon PR people. So they were inspired by League of Legends. It didn't work out. Didn't even get past the development stages. Horrible mismanagement. Just like the people they hired as project managers and lead like designers just did not know what the hell they were doing. So the big one though is of course New World. If you don't know, New World was supposed to be Amazon Game Studios' World of Warcraft killer, a massive sandbox MMO RPG that was supposed to like just take the world by storm. Well, per the article here, it actually ran into a lot of issues even before this, but it was supposed to take place in a fictionalized 17th century America, and the featured enemy designs they were very similar to Native Americans. So they actually hired a tribal consultant who was like, nah, this shit's offensive, what the fuck? So they had to revisit an entire development stage of the game because they had to change like kind of the idea behind who the primary enemy was and kind of reset themselves to a better point, which they did, and then they proceeded to try and develop the game. Well, if you don't know, New World's beta started last year. They ran it for a little while. I did play probably 70 some odd hours of it.
And they announced like big ambitions for that game. Like they were saying they were like cyberpunk level, like this is the next massive MMO. Like everybody's going to play this. So it wasn't like they just tried to like make a game.
It's very bare bones. We're talking about the largest new studio in the world, supposed to be creating the most innovative games ever. Bezos himself was like, most innovative. Like, I want these to be the most innovative games. Now, for a guy who has a yacht that has a yacht inside of his yacht, this was not an innovative fucking game. It's super fucking basic. Like, legitimately, it's like a basic-ass world with basic-ass concepts and really terrible PvP, horribly thought out. Like, we're talking, you could get stun-locked by 2 players indefinitely. Like, they just have to keep hitting you, and you could not fight back. Horrible PvP. Like, you could not outskill anybody in the game. The PvE was bland as fuck. There wasn't almost anything really of use to do in the world that wasn't a repetitive grind. It had like 3 primary game systems, a bare bones housing system, and then a moderately robust factioning system. That was it, which is not a lot for what's supposed to be the next gen MMORPG. So that hasn't been curtained yet. Like, it hasn't ended. According to them, they're still planning the release for 2021. But Amazon Game Studios itself, essentially there's the Bloomberg report details that there's major dysfunction. If you don't know, Crucible was their other major game. It failed. It was supposed to be an Overwatch-like game. It was plagued with one of the most funniest fucking issues possible in terms of Amazon releases. Their servers could not handle the load. They had network-based issues and server issues. For a game hosted by Amazon, made by Amazon, run on Amazon fucking cloud, and they couldn't figure out their own shit. That's like the most comical fucking thing I've ever heard.
I'm waiting for the article to come out to like find out that they actually were using some other hosting service for that game because they didn't want to. Like, I'm waiting for that article to come out. Azure. Yeah, like it's just like what? Like,
some of the other issues. Like,
we ran it on Google Cloud. I don't know.
There's such a slew of issues listed that it just goes on forever. I'll list some of them. One of the major ones that their developers have is they're forced to use Lumberyard. Lumberyard being Amazon's own engine. It's not terrible, but it's not great.
Not even
it's not even their own
engine.
It's like a bastardized version of the CryEngine.
That's right.
It's a bastardized version of the CryEngine. There was a lawsuit about it. There's a lot of drama behind just the engine itself. We're talking before they even got to making fucking games legitimately. They were already in the shit over stealing too much crap from CryEngine, which was already a problem. So there was a whole thing between them and Crytek. Apparently the culture at Amazon Game Studios is very similar to that of 2017 through early 2020 Riot Games. So they call it bro culture.
Yes.
So not a phenomenal place for people to work. Amazon did onboard story developers, which I mentioned already, who worked on popular series like Portal and Far Cry. Of the two of them, only one of them is left. They've already parted ways with one of those groups, which is pretty impressive considering they only onboarded them like a couple years ago. The leader of their entire game division, which is one of my favorite, Mike Frazzini, has actually never made a video game before. We're talking like the biggest dick of money that you can get in a company. And they were like, you know what? Let's just not hire someone who knows what they're fucking doing. Let's hire the new guy and see if this works out.
Well, it's the new world, so why not new guy?
Yeah, new world, new guy, new people,
phone,
new everything. Just fuck it. New phone, who dis? Yeah, like it's just bad. So apparently he's a huge issue internally, and a lot of the developers and people that work there who were cited in this article or who provided information for this article said that he was actually one of the biggest issues that the game studio has faced, because when they're discussing things that people in the industry understand in terms of game design, what works for players, what doesn't, especially in MMO settings where things are extraordinarily complex, this guy's coming to the table with like the most basic shit. Like the most basic asinine fucking ideas that you could possibly imagine, which is just terrible.
Wait, guys, wait. I thought of this great idea. So you're going to put them down this world, and then when they start, what we're going to do is we're going to ask them to look up at a light and see which way they move their mouse. And then we're going to make them look down at a light and see which way they move their mouse. And then we won't have to ask them whether they want to invert their control or not.
I mean, I'll give you this, like, much respect to game developers and people who have ever tried to make a game. Like, I've made, I wouldn't even say it's a game, it's a very small project that I did. And it was not easy. It took me months to get the most basic, like, 16-bit type game, or 8-bit game, really, made.
One could say 9 months.
Yeah, one could say 9 months. So yeah, it was like literally like just to get like what you're saying is the basic ideas of like I want to do this. I would have those ideas because I'm trying to make this game. And I'm like I would want this thing to happen here. And I'm like okay. Then I'm like googling how do I do C# to do this thing or C+ or whatever. And then just to get that like one action would take me weeks to get because I didn't know coding. So I was like learning the stuff as I was doing it. So I'm like just to get like any sort of idea. Huge respect to game developers because you have to. There's a lot of things that like people that don't know. Have to.
I think that actually
they don't.
plays into it even more in terms of the fact that. Go ahead.
I think that's our entire point here is huge respect to the actual game developers, which is why you don't take some jackhole's frickin' like, the guy that works over here that's the CIO or something, his son is looking for a new job. Well, why don't we put him in charge of this like game studio? And I don't know who he knows or what, but you don't take somebody brand new and put them as a head of a game studio that's never made a game before, because they're not going to be able to talk to the developers. Because the developers already know a lot of this shit, and they know the process of like the concept of onboarding a new player, and the concept of like, I say it all the time during games. Hey, are we going the right way? Oh, there's enemies coming out. We must be going the right way, because there's an unspoken like language in games that lead you through a game. Now, whether it's something like the Tomb Raider series, where they have white on the areas that you can climb up, or the enemies, like I say in like some of the shooters that lead you forward, or like glints of light on things you're supposed to pick up. There's all these things that game developers know, and those are the people that are doing it right, and those are the people that are hamstrung and crushed down when you bring somebody in that's going to head up a studio that doesn't know their fucking ass from a hole in the wall.
Yeah. I mean, it goes straight for like people who are like, for example, somebody who doesn't know and goes, oh, we need reflections. We need mirrors everywhere so that people can see their character. And then the game developers are like,
lens flares.
They're like, oh God, like you want reflections of the character? So like the character moves and the reflections get, and they're like, freaking out because like now they have to figure out how to do this. Cyberpunk. But like that's literally like an issue that most people don't think that's a problem, but it is. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the case of like this studio, you get like when they pulled this guy on, like not even a few years back, there was a lot of talent floating around. We're talking like Blizzard was having some issues, and they were going through like there would have been news stories about them just like 2.5, 3 years back. So they could have definitely onboarded way better talent, or talent in general, people who have like a lot of good ideas and decades of the industry behind them. But for some reason, they pulled in this person who has been proven to have no idea what they're doing. And it shows, because like I'm not joking when I say there are 2 games that did start to make it out of the game are gone. Like Crucible came out. It was their closest thing to fully releasing a game. It was out there. You could play it. And then they were like, no, it's gone.
We're bringing it back into beta.
Yeah. I mean,
and then they even canceled the beta.
Then they canceled
it. And it wasn't a bad looking game. Like I saw a video of it played. It looked pretty good. Now, there was probably problems with it, but I think the problems went way beyond the developers.
It's really interesting because, and this will be my last note specific to their games dying and failing, but when Overwatch came out, which Crucible worked very hard to imitate, Battleborn from Gearbox was released. And Battleborn largely was credited for failing because of its direct competition with Overwatch. But the amusing thing is Battleborn was not even in the same vein as Overwatch. It was actually more like Smite, if you're trying to really pick what kind of a game it was like. It was like a MOBA battle arena-esque game, whereas Overwatch is like a FPS arena, like shooter style combat, like team-based shooter game. So they're different genres altogether, but because they got thrown into the same group.
Well, I've got to look this up.
Uh-oh.
Because Randy Pitchford himself said what Battleborn is. He said in this infamous tweet from July 8th, 2014.
We have to go back here. I don't want to go in the time machine.
We're going in a time machine.
Oh, man.
2014. He said Battleborn is, FPS, hobby grade, co-op, campaign, genre-blended, multi-mode, competitive esports, meta-growth choice, plus epic Battleborn heroes. I think it's more the fact that it was like Smite and released at the same time as Overwatch is why it failed. There was a lot more going on there.
My brain still hurts from that back in July when we talked about that. But man, it still hurts even worse now. It still doesn't make any sense. I still
PR really fucks you. But because it was branded in the same version as Overwatch is why it failed when it was in fact not the same as Overwatch. Meanwhile, Crucible deliberately tried to be like Overwatch. Like, that was their whole fucking idea. They were like, no. We got a fuck ton of money, and they've got a good idea, and they haven't done much with their idea now. It's kind of like just the same thing, so let's just do their idea, but try and do it better. And that's like the dumbest fucking thing you can do.
It's got to be brand new, innovation ideas here.
Yeah, but also the same thing, just to try and make it better, but then also make it worse. So it failed.
But, that's not the only studio news I heard, Bruno. In a shocker of shockers, right?
Yeah, I mean, it continues. So, Stadia.
All right, we're done here. All right, cool.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Listen, if you don't know what's about to come out of my mouth after I said the word Stadia with a sigh, then... I mean, like, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. So Stadia, Stadia's not going away. They're just don't plan on seeing much new from it in terms of like Stadia specific exclusives or games.
First party.
For anything first party, Stadia is going to try and stick around as a third party licensable platform. And that's pretty much really like it was a pretty large story, but really the meat and potatoes of it, so to speak, is Stadia is not doing as hot as they wanted it to. So
I'm sorry, what the hell do you have on your screen right now? What is that? Like,
it's a cat.
No,
that's his camera holder, but it did confuse me for a second there.
Okay. Sorry, like, for those who are listening to the podcast, like, Brian's showing, like, I guess, it's a stand that his camera sits on, one of the legs, but it looks very...
It's a tripod.
It looks very phallic in the sense of...
Oh, God.
It started, like, inching its way onto the screen, and I was like, what the fuck?
Like, what is happening right now?
Stadia still wants to be the Netflix of games, but they're idiots because they're not actually doing Netflix. They're making you own the games, but if you own the games, it's only on that platform. It's not on the other platforms, but none of that is going away. They decided that shit was fine. Let's kick the can out of the developers and get rid of the people that are like... And this is the stupid part. They're getting rid of the developers and the studio whose entire purpose was to make games that could really only work on Stadia.
Yeah, and then if you ask me, did I know that Stadia was supposed to be its own platform and not only do third party, I would say obviously no. Like, I literally thought this was the purpose of Stadia, was that you don't have to have a console. You don't have to pay $400 for a console. You could just pay $100, play it streaming, and that was the idea. I did not think they were trying to make games.
The other ideas that they came up with,
wild.
The other ideas that they came up with was that because the game was running on these set of servers that were all local to each other, and they would only send to you basically video and sound, and you would send to them controller inputs. What that would mean is you could do things that you couldn't do with regular consoles, including have a lot of destructibility in the world that you couldn't handle in consoles, because all of that would be handling once instead of on consoles. It's got to handle it and show it down to the game engine of all the different consoles and multiply it. It's just a pain in the ass. So that's one of the things. And the other thing is like just the real ability to really, you could have like this concept where you have multiple soldiers, right? And you're the commander, and you could like jump into their body cams and see their point of view and go, no, it's that building on the right, and then jump back out to a map view and stuff like this. Yeah. And you could instantly do it because it was all local, running on the same server.
Yeah, and that makes
servers
sense.
Really close to each other.
Like, that part makes sense for the servers, because like the hardware,
right? And you can't do that with any other platform. It's what's unique about the Stadia platform, and they've just destroyed the one studio or the concept that could create those unique things for them.
Yeah. But in that sense, they'd have to have people who bought into like Battlefield would have to buy into that, because Battlefield had a commander mode, kind of like similar to what you're saying. You're up above, you're kind of playing.
Well, yeah, but you're still thinking third party.
Well, I know, but I'm saying
you're still thinking like a third party making it.
Right, but they would have to have those kind of people.
They make their own
to make those games.
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
Right, and then at that point it's just hiring. Like
right, but it's like you need
tell me Google doesn't have fucking money.
Right, but you have to be comparable to games that people are already playing that are like that you'd want to play this game on Stadia versus like a game that's already available that you can play.
Well, that's the point, is they don't have to be comparable, because the whole point is they're so different.
Yeah.
If you made it different enough, it doesn't have to be like Call of Duty. Call of Duty is so popular because of its extremely tight netcode, the variety of weapons that it has. They're typically based on real world weapons, and it's like almost gritty realism for chunks of it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it's great at. Well, don't compete with that. Like, instead, make a sci-fi shooter and get all the stuff unrealistic there, and then just give these features that they can't do in Call of Duty. That you can't do in Fortnite. Create the ultimate, the next level of battle royale that you just can't do that in the current technology outside of Stadia. And then you don't have to like make a better Battlefield.
I got it.
I can see your face, Mike.
Yeah.
Stadia should have made Battle Royale Manager.
Oh, this is terrible.
That's it.
Why do you do this to us?
That's it. Battle Royale Manager. You can see the bird eye view of all of the battlefield, all the people on the field playing Battle Royale, and you can see multiple different ones, and you're managing all of that to try to make the most money on who you bid on, who you think is going to be the winner of each one, and you can have like Hunger Games level
Bruno,
of action heroes that are gonna win. I'm telling you, man, onto something.
I don't know, Bruno, if we punish him by skipping his next segment or force him to go down to his next segment.
Anyway,
right
so
I'll leave it up to you.
Moving right along, the real summary here is I don't think Stadia is going to be around much longer. I give them probably a couple years more of trying to do whatever bullshit they're doing before they close up shop. I think this is just
one of these days I'll activate mine and actually play something on it.
See, no, you won't, because it
won't
sucks,
be available.
and that's
I will.
the point.
I'll try something on it.
I've
got Hitman free on it.
I think that Google and
free.
Amazon both were kind of like, we're massive companies.
It's free.
We're obviously too big to fail. We could totally just go into the gaming industry and fucking do this thing. And they both got to find out the hard way that the gaming industry is not that easy, and that gamers as a whole are picky ass fucking people that want what they want, how they want it, and if your fucking delivery method sucks even slightly, get fucked. And that's exactly what's happening to both companies, just in different ways. So I think Stadia's probably got more power behind them than Amazon Game Studios for sure. I think Amazon Game Studios, after New World's failure, is just going to be laughed right out of the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they just don't seem to know what to do with it.
I don't even think they care.
They probably don't.
There's that too.
But interesting enough, the CEO, Jeff Bezos, actually stepped down. So, and if he was more of the factor of why the gaming studio was doing the things they were doing, if the new CEO comes in and doesn't care about gaming, that could be pretty changing for the Prime gaming industry, or Twitch or whatever. Or maybe he's actually involved and he wants to actually put people who know what the fuck they're doing in the positions.
Prime Gaming, I believe, is actually handled by an entirely different division that specifically works with the Prime subscription models and their soft space. So they don't even cross-sec fucking at all.
Yeah, I'm just saying the CEO could come in and be like, I have better ideas. So, I don't know.
They came from the Twitch side.
We'll see.
And if you want to know more about what free games you can get on Prime Gaming or Stadia or anything like that, we have one of those videos on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's true. For the month of January, February.
February.
So, yeah.
Current month.
All right, moving on. Obviously, those things sucked. And this also sucks, but in a different way of suck. And I don't usually talk like this, but here's my rant. So back in 2008, if you're familiar with the Legend of Zelda series, which I am because I'm a huge Zelda fan, and if you want to tell me I'm not, you're my wife and you want to fight me, but that's fine. I'll deal with that on any other day. In 2008, there was a massive trailer that was came out for Legend of Zelda, and it was like Legend of Zelda movie. It was coming. There's the trailer. Everybody's freaking out. Internet's freaking out, and it's like, oh my god, I can't wait. And then it turns out that it's actually IGN, and IGN had made a trailer for April Fools that Legend of Zelda was coming, which in this case it wasn't. It was actually a great trailer. It actually, I wouldn't say there was no known actors. It was very, cliche in the sense of like the actors and like in the scenes and stuff. But it was like to see a Legend of Zelda like reenactment on live. Like I thought of a TV show or a movie. I was like stoked. I was like, hell yeah, take my money. Here I am. And then obviously we talked about last week with like HBO looking for another series and everything. Like that's been out there. And previously in the last year or so, there's been talk that Netflix is potentially talking to Nintendo about getting a Legend of Zelda series. And that is super exciting. But it kind of just disappeared. And we were like, what happened? Like, nothing was said. It just kind of like all those rumors kind of just disappeared. And what we found out was, from what was reported, is that there's so if you're familiar with College Humor, his name is Adam Conover, and he does a lot of different series. It's like Adam's what's it called? It's like Adam. What's his series called?
Adam Ruins Everything.
Adam's Ruins Everything, and that's usually his series. He goes through different things like that. But he talks about in this new article, basically, it's an Engadget article, is that during College Humor, they were trying to plan an animation, a claymation skit. Combining Star Fox, which Nintendo, with Fantastic Mr. Fox. And actually, at the time, Zelda creator Shigeru Miyamoto was actually even came to the office and talked about details about the show and stuff. So they were actually in partnership with them to really make something happen. And then he said after that, the project was just canceled about a month later and didn't know anything about it. He was like, what the hell happened? Like, we were working on this thing and now it's gone. And he said and this is what Adam said. He said he overhears hearing his boss like talking on a phone call. And he said, or his boss saying, he said, someone at Netflix leaked the Legend of Zelda thing. They weren't supposed to talk about it. Nintendo freaked out and they pulled the plug on everything. They pulled the plug on the entire program to adapt these things. So that just reaffirms the fact that there was actually a live action Zelda Netflix series in the works. But someone ruined it, and it wasn't Adam this time. Adam did not ruin this, which was kind of crazy. But the fact that the show was on the brink of actually becoming a show, and now it's gone. Thanks, whoever you did leak that. Fuck you.
Dick.
So, anyway, that's how I feel. That's my rant. Carry on.
Tell us how you really feel.
Really?
Well, trying to go on to something that, again, to some, a beloved franchise, to others, a bit of a joke. But coming in from friend of the site, Runner Diva, she sent in this news article that definitely caught my attention, and that's that, and this is something we already knew about, Mass Effect is getting remastered. And it ends up that some people got their hands on it because a tweet came out that the remaster's it's coming out May. So it's not even all that long from now. We're talking about a little bit over 4 months from now, maybe 5, that the remaster is actually going to come out. And when this IGN article, they talk about it, they said, hey, it's not just a remaster. Sure, yeah, but they actually went through and they used some of the new technology of using AI to up-res the textures. And the AI they've been using recently is amazing, because even when the people did the with the Red Alert franchise, they did they used the AI to like up-res the real time, you know, live action video that they did, and it up-resed it so well that they actually could see the wires where they were like suspending things, and they kind of showed too much detail, and they had to fix some of it. But
which, speaking of
so
that,
they got that
Command & Conquer Red Alert, like the new remaster, is actually really good. I've heard nothing but good things on that, so pick it up.
Yeah. Hello, Stretchy Cat. They were able to up-res the resolution of some of the textures by up to 16 times, so they got, you know, really good increased detail on some of the resolution. They went through, and even after the AI did it, they went through and hand-touched, you know, virtually every enemy, gun, piece of armor across the first two games, and much of the third game too. I'm going to say much of the third game. They probably said that just because they reused a bit of stuff in the third game. They also unified the customization options across all three games, so that's, you got some code changes there. So they're actually putting some effort, not just to like just release a higher resolution version of these games, but rather that even though they can't remake the entire game, they're trying to make something that is worthwhile to purchase again if you were to purchase it.
Yeah.
They're trying to make something good out of this. Now, with that said, it is kind of interesting to see some of the early... Now, again, it's not released. Everything here is subject to change. This isn't the final version. Take this anything with a grain of salt.
I think this could be good for them in the fact that, like, I've never played Mass Effect. I've always I was actually bought Mass Effect, I think 2 or 3 from my brother. And by the time I got around to playing it, like, it was still on disc and we didn't really have CD-ROMs anymore. It was kind of gone. But those games, apparently the lore and the story in these games are so good that like that's why people played these. So if they could do a remaster and make it something current that like I could play and feel like it's, you know, not like terrible graphics, it makes sense.
And the skill progression was actually kind of interesting. You know, they had 3 kind of classes as it were, and they had really interesting skill progression between the different classes that were very interesting. Like there was a soldier type, there was a psionics type, and like an engineer type, I believe. So it actually was very interesting. But these screenshots are interesting. So this is like what the remastered screenshots look like. And I'm just, oh my God, this dude's intense. Like this dude needs a little bit, I don't know.
Yeah, he's got the crazy eyes.
Yeah, he needs to settle down a bit. But you compare that to the original, and you know the coloration's all off, the lighting's all off, the eyes are way too bright in the original. So I mean, yeah, it does look better across the board. Again, he looks a little too intense.
Yeah, but even that, like, I can't even say that, like, looking at the original, like, I feel like the lighting in the scenario that person's in right now, that character, doesn't even match the same, like, dynamics that the other person's in. Like, I don't know, it's almost like a bait and switch, like, hey, did you see this? It doesn't look like this. And it's like, well, but they're not even the same spot. The lighting's different, like... I mean, realistically, it looks different here. Like the realism in the face looks different here.
This isn't the same spot though. You can see the cable coming down from whatever it is, a bridge, or she's got the same weapons on her back. It's very much in the same spot. I didn't see this much. Oh yeah, he's got the same cable there. So they're trying to do it in the same spot. So that's kind of cool. The next set though is what's really interesting. This one looks like Michael Bay's directing it with that level of lens flare, which Bruno just... to be fair, Bruno's the one that pointed this out, and Bruno has very different opinions than I do on that, which is cool. Because he's got a point. Because let me show you, this is the new version Let me show you the old version. I mean, it's almost like it's an April Fool's joke because they look nearly identical except for the giant lens flare.
That's it. That's the
difference. I have some fears about the remaster. See, like, I liked ME1.
Wait, hold on. Before you go in there, let me at least show the one that does look good.
Yeah.
Besides the lens flare is kind of over the top, but this compared to the original, that is a massive difference between the two there. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Bruno. Go ahead.
Again, like even in that one, I think that a lot of it has to do with the lighting in the game and the overarching filter. But like ME1 and ME2 were great games. I didn't care for anything past that point or the DLCs. I thought it was just mediocre. I think like they kind of lost the stride that they were on. And I really don't know that I trust them as a company where they are now to release a remaster that actually fucking matters or is worth it. So like, I don't know. I guess I'm just like definitely looking at it through like very jaded view.
Sure.
We'll see.
I mean, for better or worse, it sounds like that they're not touching the story overly much. So for those that weren't interested or found the story boring, okay, well, it's still going to be pretty bad. Mm-hmm. For those that were like really taken into the story, then hey, you know, at least it sounds like that they're making some quality of life improvements to this.
Yeah.
That are going to make it better and make it look better. So it's kind of like the whole mind's eye nostalgia where you thought it looked better than it really did. Well, now it's going to look a little bit closer to that.
Yeah.
I do love though, and it was hilarious because I heard about this whole remaster thing, and the first thing that popped in my mind was please do not fuck with this one thing. Like everybody, it was a very divisive thing. Some people loved it, some people hated it. And, you know, I was like, oh, but it had so much character to it that you can't mess with this one thing because it would screw it up. And sure enough, I ended up finding an article on Kotaku that basically was saying the same thing that I was thinking. By the way, it's May 14th when it's going to be coming out. And I'll quote some of this here. He says, I am here, come upon my hill to die, to tell you this. Do not fix the Mako. Some of my fondest memories playing the original Mass Effect are when I would grab Garrus and Tali and go off-roading on some empty backwater planet, jumping gorges and clipping into mountainsides. Or I remember like you would go up insane hills that you shouldn't be able to drive up, and you would bounce all over the fact. Now, I kind of liked it on, I forget which one I liked better, Mass Effect 1 or Mass Effect 2. There was a massive change between the two of them. But the Mako was the 6-wheeled giant like SUV thing that you would go into to explore a planet. And it was insane. I think it even had a jump feature at one point where you like jump up in the air and it would bounce all over the place. It was crazy. It was so much fun bouncing around these planets, and you would get into, okay, so everybody remembers being able to like Skyrim your way up a mountain, right? At least those that played Skyrim. Yeah, Skyrim's playing behind you. We can all see that, Mike.
Yeah, you do like
but,
the
you
back and
do
forth
crazy
and then,
shit
yeah.
on the edge of mountain. In fact, you do this in World of Warcraft. I mean, Bruno, did you play World of Warcraft before the?
I know the answer is going to be yes.
Before the Dwarven Airport was opened up by the Iron Mountain.
No.
Wow. Okay.
So
well,
it used to be that you couldn't. It was out of bounds. You couldn't truly get to it. But if you kind of like did that thing in World of Warcraft where you kind of got on the edge of textures, you could go over. You could, if you were very, very careful, you could get to it. It was an area that wasn't opened up yet. and it was really cool to be able to get there. And the Mako was very much the same way, where you could do this crazy shit on the textures and the terrain and everything like that. Please don't fuck with that.
All right. Well, we're going to take a short break. Hope you guys that are listening are entertained. And if you're not, stay tuned because you'll be entertained. We have things to keep going with. So hang tight. We'll talk about some more stuff in a minute. Listen to a word from our sponsors. Back we are.
Oh my God. That was your innovative, different way of saying it?
There we go. I did something different. I did it different this time.
Oh my God.
It was actually different. And it's even meta because I was like referring to like Yoda. I was channeling my inner Yoda.
Wow.
So
like
there's that.
I was going to do a cutting joke.
I'm just saying. There's that. I literally did something different.
Understanding how your wife feels about certain things, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. So our next segment, what we've been playing. We've always been playing something, with Game of the Moment or...
Have we?
I mean, I actually did good this week. I actually played things...
You did?
I actually played other games than the typical games that I do play. So I'm going to go ahead and start...
And yet you also played the typical game that you
play. Full disclaimer, I played the typical games I had been playing, which is Path of Exile recently. I also played Stardew Valley again, and I also played like 5 minutes of Rust until I realized my base was gone, and I was like, fuck this, I'm not building it again.
And a totally different survival game right before the show, but you'll get to that later. So, Game of the Moment this week, we played a game called Alien Swarm. I can't talk.
Reactive drop. And Alien Swarm is almost like an isometric top-down type game, but it's almost like the movie Aliens, the second movie, not the first movie.
Almost?
It's basically that, and it's you can play up to 8 people, and let me back up. It's free. It's a free game on Steam that you can play, free to play, and it was great. It was up to 8 people, and each character you can pick. There's 8 different types of characters, 4 different classes, 2 characters of each, and you can pick like your loadout. So you can even though you're a medic necessarily, you could pick a different weapon from a different class. That's a thing. But it was really neat. There's different weapons, different secondaries, different utility weapons or whatever. So I had a welder. I was doing the tech field, which we're not going to go into that. Hopefully
there was secondary weapons, like carrying a secondary weapon of a turret that you could deploy and build that would automatically shoot things that came within range. You could have your tertiary, which was kind of like a utility slot. You could do a self heal. You could do flares to increase accuracy, or you could do a field that would increase accuracy for all your friends, or even these quick little homing hornet missiles that just popped out and all swarmed something. There was a lot of variety. There was a Tesla gun. There was the flamethrower.
One of the things Mike touched on is that there was 2 of each class, and if you looked at the statistics for each individual class, they actually had specializations. So the leadership class guys, there was 2 of them. One of them buffed the team with a rate of 5, which was the maximum, which increased their firepower and healing. The other one was a rate of 3, but he had a 5 to the Vindicator, which was the automated shot, the auto shotgun in the game. So those stats also fueled how they played. So if you played the secondary leader guy with 2 Vindicator shotguns, you one-shot everything in your path.
Yeah,
and so there was a lot to it.
Except for the shield guys.
The important part about this game was that at the first glance, it seems like it's a shooter, like a third-person isometric shooter that you and your friends are trying to run through. Almost like somebody actually mentioned this, like Left 4 Dead, except not zombies but aliens. And the only problem is it's top-down, so it's a lot different. And you're thinking, okay, from point A to point B, you have to run through an area. And yeah, you'll get swarmed by mobs and you'll kind of make your way. But they do little things differently in this game to where some of the things are repetitive, not repetitive, but you have to repeat certain areas. So there's a tech lock on some of these things where there is a tech role, like a technician role, who does the hacking, who does like the welding. So you can go through a doorway. There's a door that you could seal by welding it. And by doing that means the aliens have to basically break the door down before they can get through it. But if you also seal it up, then you also have to unseal it if you're going to go through. So when you have to come back down, depending on the door, you may have to unseal it. Whereas there's also parts where there's like there's little puzzles like this tech, like you have to hack something. There's like a little puzzle you have to do. And during that time, you're like waiting for that person to do that thing. And it takes more than like probably 30 seconds or so. And everybody's like fighting off all the aliens while like you're trying to do this thing. And obviously like, you know, everybody's going to get impatient because they're like, oh, I didn't mention the most important part is that ammo is like not a thing that you have infinite amount. It's very scarce. So what you get, you start off with, I think, 5 clips per gun, I think it is. And it's like 100 rounds or something. But you're using an automatic rifle that, like, after, it probably takes like 15 to 20 bullets to kill one alien. So you're like unloading, and you're having to like actually pick who you're shooting and when to shoot. And there's also friendly fire, so you have to be careful of not shooting each other.
You have to coordinate. Or you must blowing each other up. Otherwise there's problems.
Because I also blew us up, which was also bad.
Or there's times when Mike is like, hey, everybody get back behind the door, as he starts sealing it and secret agents on the other side of the door. And Secret's going, oh my God, I'm getting swarmed. What the hell? And all 3 of us are going, no, open the door.
And I'm like, well, I said everybody get behind the door, and you're like not behind the door. So
as he seals it.
As I'm sealing it. So there's a lot of aspects to this game that were really neat. Like Bruno pointed out, there's like definitely skills related to each character, so they can you guys can like pair it up that way. Then the different weapons, and then the aspect of the game where you have those mechanics of like having someone be able to weld doors or someone to like hack the things. And one of the biggest things we got a problem with was like basically face huggers, if you're not familiar with the Alien series.
Oh God.
There were eggs that would pop open and these aliens would jump out and they would basically jump on your face. And if that happened, the only way to basically survive that is to let it run its course, basically, essentially, whatever I want to say.
With the healer
whatever
healing
word I'm going to use, but it's but you have to. The only way to survive that, it says to use a medic and let the medic put down a healing area, which in that little circle it will heal you the whole time. And the only way to do that is stay in that circle because you're getting your health, like it's removing your health the whole time. But since you're removing and you're in the healing circle, it kind of gives you health, so you have enough to basically survive. So that's the only way to survive that kind of thing. And we got to one point where it kept happening in a certain particular area that like everything was bombarding us. So these bombs were basically going off all around us. And yet like we kept trying to heal there because someone was like covered and we're like, there's no way to survive this. Like stop doing that. But there was real no way to do that.
Yeah, there wasn't because you have to stand still in the healing area to heal while the face hugger to get rid of it. But at the same time, there's these things underneath that are shooting up acid pods. They're exploding down on. So you get screwed either way. The only way is to get through there is not to like get attacked by a face hugger, to go through with the flamer and burn them first.
Yeah.
But that's easier said than done because not everybody has a flamer. We even saw there was some cool stuff where there seemed to be like limitations on equipment where if 2 people got flamers, then the other person like wouldn't be able to. It looked like, I'm not positive on this, that another person couldn't get a flamer. Or a Tesla gun, things like that. And it also was cool that these weapons weren't just different ways to kill. There was even a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Which was hilarious. But it was cool to see that the Tesla gun really didn't seem to kill them so much as it slowed them down.
Like slowed them down,
so
almost
that other
immobilized
people could
them,
do stuff.
But mostly slowed them down, which we didn't know
and
that
was
at
useful
first.
for certain. Right.
Like we were just using that, running around shooting it. And we're like, why isn't anything dying? We're just like shooting it the whole time, holding it down. And it's like people with the shotgun are blowing it up better than I am. But it's like, it wasn't meant for that. It was meant to do the specific task. So like, it would be definitely a secondary weapon. And that once we figured that out, things got a little easier. And every weapon we use, things got easier once we realized what they were really used for. And that was really neat.
And in that case, in that case, it was really great for these particular creatures that held, their arms, their big claw arms up in front of them to protect them as a shield. So it was easier to hit them with the Tesla gun to slow them down, and then people would go around behind and shoot them from behind and actually kill them that way. So there's a lot of depth to this game.
It's
the
hard.
The graphics look pretty good.
It's hard. We were
difficult.
playing on normal.
You actually have to coordinate with your other players, and it's a lot of fun, and it's free on Steam.
Yeah, we were like, so one of the comments say like you need to play with friends, and that's kind of the truth. Like the game is old, so it's not.
Yeah,
it's a free
this is
game,
not a pub game.
But it's not going to be a game you're going to play online with because there's just nobody playing it. So you need to pick friends to do it. But you can still play it online. And one of the other parts of this is like it doesn't matter if everybody lives, as long as one person gets to the finish line, then you guys win. And then the next map loads up and it's fine. But we definitely got through a few times where it was like one or two people that barely made it through, and we were excited because it's like they finally made it. Like there's just so much. We
literally had one game where everybody but one person died, and that one person thought they were about to die. They were getting really low on health and just stepped through the doorway and it said mission complete.
Yep.
And every one of us was screaming, even the ones of us that had died a minute before.
Honestly, not even a minute, probably within 20 seconds before. Like 3 people went down within the 20 seconds before the ending of that level. And it was like, because we were all doing good. And then it was like, first person dies, and you're like, okay. And then it was like 10 seconds later, not even 10 seconds later, it was like second person died. And then it was like 3 seconds later, third person, and you're like, oh, there's no way. And we still pushed through to finish it out. Really neat game.
Yeah.
Definitely for free, especially on Steam. If you want to play with your buddies, like I said, up to 8 other people, you can definitely check it out. It's called Alien Swarm Reactive Drop. Super cool. Check it out. So that's our game of the moment of the week. So typically this is Brian. Game of the month, game of the day, game of the month, game of the week, game of the moment.
GOM, game moment.
So Brian's typically the one that plays all these weird games, or not even weird, just other games other than the ones that we typically come back to. Like I said, we already disclaimed we played certain ones. I played a game called The Diary of Edith Finch, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go on Xbox Game Pass. It's available for free. I did not look up the prices. I'm terrible. It's probably like $20 or so. I'm probably on Steam.
Keep talking. I got it.
And it's a first person type game. You start off the game, and it's a very I would say linear type game. You're going to start from the beginning and you're going to finish it. But it's more about the journey than the destination, I guess you could say. Like the playing the game and actually going through almost like a movie. It's like an interactive movie. You're playing this game where it's not really a game. You're not having to quick react to do things like crazy. It's just you go to different rooms. Text come on the screen. There's a character. It's the remains of Edith Finch. Correct. I'm sorry about that. I said the diary of Edith Finch, but you were totally correct. The idea is you're following I think it's a 17-year-old girl that had previous problems in her family. It's almost like a 3148, almost like a what do you call it? A dysfunctional family where there was just different problems. But apparently she starts talking about how things are almost like a curse. Like her family's kind of cursed on some of these things. And so you're kind of going back to your old home, where you grew up at, to see things that happen. I don't want to give too many details because I want you guys to play this, but you go out and you get to this house, and this house it seems very similar to the show on Netflix, the key. What's that show called? Lock and Key. That's what it was. Lock and Key on Netflix. Similar to that, except there's not multiple keys, but there's one key, but everything in the house is locked. So you find out the mom gives you this one key and says, here you go, you can go back to the house, and all the rooms in the house are locked. But what you find out is there's more to the house than you actually remember being as a kid. You remember there are places in the house you can't go to, but there was actually ways to get to certain places of the house that were like blocked off, and you kind of go through that path of learning and figuring that stuff out. So very adventure-like, but also very mystery-like. Very cool. I mean, it took me about less than 2 hours to complete the game, and it was a very interesting story. A lot of cool mechanics to the game. Each like segment that you kind of go through does different mechanics. So like I said, I don't want to give too much away because it is a really neat game to check it out. But definitely check it out. It's super cool. It kind of unlocks as you play. There's different levels of things you find out as you keep going. It's not the replay value isn't really there because once you beat it, it's over. But you can go back and play different segments again by selecting those on like the map that you have. So you can go back and play it again. But yeah, really cool game. Like I said, free right now on Xbox Game Pass, $31.48 or something on Steam. But yeah, super cool. Definitely check it out. And that's also what I've been playing. I'll let Dymyrn tell us about the next game.
So, aside from the usual, we have picked up a new game called Valheim. It is a 1 to 10 player survival game. Shocking.
Is it only up to 10
that
player?
We're playing another survival game. Did you say is it only up to 10?
Yeah, is it only up to 10?
Yep.
Oh wow.
Let's just say it might be game of the moment next Tuesday.
Hey, I'm okay with that.
Or wait, or is next Tuesday already set up?
I don't.
Well, anyway, go ahead,
Maybe.
Bruno.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yep. Yeah, we'll have to figure that out later. Bruno, go ahead. Sorry.
So it's a survival game that's based heavily on like Nordic lore. So you are. This is going to be like the opening of the game, so I'm not spoiling anything for you. Also, this is an early access title that costs $20.
$19.99. It literally came out 2 days ago. It's 2/2021.
The game opens with you are a like Norseman, like a Viking, and you have been pulled from life into purgatory to fight against Odin's enemies.
The 10th world.
The 10th world, where they keep bringing in these heroes from the land of the living to try and battle Odin's enemies and slay them before they can free themselves from purgatory. But it's a survival game, so you start off on a procedurally generated map that, as far as we can tell, is fucking enormous.
Yeah, it looks massive. Like Minecraft, probably like 2 or 3 times bigger than the normal Minecraft map, which is already ridiculous.
So yeah, you just summon in. You're wearing like just a fucking like leather, like a fucking like cloth sheet over you, and you just start on your adventure with this weird bird showing you the way through the tutorial. And there are boss stones where you have to pay tribute to summon bosses to battle them, and there's building mechanics. One of my favorite things is there's like a skill mechanic that's very RuneScape-esque. You run, and the more you run, the more your skill levels.
Yep.
You jump, and your jumping skill levels. You chop wood, your wood chopping level increases, things like that. So yeah, it's early access. They do seem to be taking feedback for their game. You can put it in through the actual game client. There's a little feedback button. It's so far, from what I've experienced, very well flushed out for an early access game. I think
for
it's
early
probably one
access,
of the more impressive early access titles I've ever played.
Yeah, for early access, like day 2 of playing it, like it was released on the on 2.2, and I replayed it on 2.3. Like, this is already fleshed out more than some games that I've played. Obviously the building part got me. I was like, all right, building, here we are, sign me up. Boat, okay, you can build a boat, sign me up. And then the point where I got to, and even in the trailer they talk about almost like Dark Souls, like it's they have a very, you died when you die. And I met this firsthand. There was an enemy that I came up to that I thought I would be able to beat. Or not necessarily beat, but like at least run away. And I tried to, and I was like, I'll go in the water because this enemy can't chase me in the water. Obviously, if I swim out, they'll probably just leave me alone. Well, This enemy did not do that. This enemy chased me into the water, and this enemy had a huge log as a weapon. And much like if you've ever been to a local pool, probably like your friend's house, they have a pool in the backyard, and there's like wasp flying around because they love water, and you take like the big boogie board and you slap them on the top of the head because you want to kill the wasp and let them. Okay, you guys didn't do that. Okay. Anyway, that's very similar to what he did to me. He took the big log and he smashed me on top of the head into the water, and immediately I died. That was it. I was done. There was no like maybe I would survive. Like he hit me once, I was dead, and that was the game. Game over at that point. The characters you build, whatever character you build, you can build multiple characters. Each character can be moved from each server, so each map that you're on. You keep whatever you have on you. So that's the difference here in this game versus some games where you usually your character kind of lives on that server. So I can play on my own server. I can finish up. I can take the stuff I want with me, and I can go to Bruno's server and I can go check out with him, and play what I want to do, and then go to Brian's server if I want to, whatever. But that was really neat. And there's a lot more to the game than obviously we know, which we'll obviously cover as we keep playing. But so far, so good. I'm pretty excited to have another cool game to play.
I'm not gonna get over that wasp story explanation for the rest of the night.
Right?
All right. Well, you guys don't do that.
I'm stuck on that.
All right. Good.
Yeah. I'm gonna. Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. Good explanation.
I
Solid.
think we should just swipe right on that.
So,
Yeah.
did you play anything, Phoenix?
Swipe
No,
left.
you're good. All right. All right. Cool. Just me. All right. That's fine. All right. We're good.
Yeah.
Starting with short attention news. If you're familiar
Now
with the
we're
game
gonna swipe
Plague, there's a game online you can play. It was actually a web-based like Java game at some point. It was like you basically play a plague. Your idea is to be the plague and attack the whole world. Obviously, that's take off. It was a game that you can play, actually a board game. There's a pandemic game that's similar to that too.
Dark.
I forgot.
Yeah, so Plague on Steam now, you can still buy Plague, but it turns out they have a DLC called The Cure, and adds some more functionality, different things to the game. Publishers came out recently and released an update and said, you know what, Plague is going to be free for everyone, or I'm sorry, The Cure will be free, the DLC part will be free to everyone that plays this game until COVID-19 is cured, or done, essentially. So this game will be out free until at this point. So if you have the Plague, go check it out, pick it up, get the free DLC, and check it out. Pretty cool game.
It's another week and another instance of discussing Fallout New Vegas' New Frontier mod. In case you didn't tune into the last two episodes, it was released. It was great. Fallout New Frontier, massive mod for New Vegas. And then the next week it was gone because turns out that one of the people who produced content for it and were helping develop it was also distributing sorts of
Bad things.
Bad things.
Move on.
Anyways, now it's back, kind of. They have worked to strip the majority of the content that person created from the mod. And they've clarified that some of the questionable content that's in the mod that people found wasn't actually his. It was an entire part about like slavery, and they were like, no, that's supposed to be there because it's a Fallout game, and those kinds of weird social aspects, like messed up things, are touched on every once in a while.
It's a messed up world.
Yeah,
it's supposed to exist.
Particularly, there is a slave like thing.
Yeah, they're like so like we get it. That guy was twisted and he created a lot of messed up shit, but that specifically was not created with an intent of being like malicious or just weird and fucked up or fetishizing anything. It was just there because it's like a topic of post-apocalyptic America. So yeah,
yes.
Move on with
that's been
with
touched upon in the
Yep.
that series.
So there you go. It's back.
It's back.
Well, what's also back is Steam and having a Steam sale. That's not news, but there's a twist on it. Now it's the Steam Game Festival, and it's very much like what we saw during PAX Unplugged, where PAX got together with Steam and made sure that there were a bunch of demos out there to try to recreate that idea of like a show floor of, game developers bringing their latest. And apparently that worked well last time because Steam's doing it again. It started approximately 1 a.m. this morning because it was 10 a.m. February 3rd Pacific time. So 1 p.m. yesterday. It's going to go all the way till February 9th, 10 a.m. Pacific time. There's going to be up to like 500 free demos. So if you're unlike Mike and you're not interested in survival games at all, then there will be plenty of other demos of other games out there that you can get. Go check it out. On top of that, they're doing sales on stuff. I just saw like Sekiro Shadows Die Twice for 35% off, so it's under $39. I mean, they're doing their normal sales stuff on top of this as well. So really good time to go out there, try some demos on some games, see if there's something you like, and grab stuff.
If you have a Steam account and you don't use the wish list feature, do it, because literally you can add all the games you want. Just add them to the queue, and then when that game comes on sale, you'll get an email saying, hey, this game's on sale. And they're always on sale with Steam. At some point in the year, you'll get the game way cheaper than you probably wanted to pay for it. So just do it. It's easy. Next news is, so we found out, this is kind of sad, I guess, if you're familiar with him, but either way, it's, so ZeniMax Media co-founder Robert Altman has actually passed away. He passed away at the age of 73. They don't know what the actual they haven't released the cause yet of what happened. But if you're not familiar with ZeniMax Media, he was part of the parent company that obviously owns Bethesda Softworks, which ultimately got bought by Microsoft over that acquisition recently, which led to the $7.5 billion acquisition for Microsoft last year. So he's been there in the company since the beginning. He started with another guy named, last name's Altman, but Altman basically started Bethesda, and then he kind of split off because he didn't really want to do the things that they wanted to do. So they kind of left him with the actual company, and then eventually purchased things like Fallout, Quake, and Doom. He's actually the husband of the original Wonder Woman, so Linda Carter. So he just passed away, unfortunately, but ZeniMax already belongs to Microsoft, so I don't see too much going on there with like any kind of changes and everything. But it is sad because he was one of the initial people behind the whole movement of making different games and acquiring different games to the products that we do like. So sad day for that.
Yeah, definitely. But moving on to a rebirth of something is apparently, as we have seen, G4 looks like it's coming back.
And you're the Phoenix,
they've already released. Was that?
You're the Phoenix. Something dying and
Phoenix
boring again.
Too, yes.
And you're doing this article. You're Phoenix. Sorry.
Yes.
Bad jokes today.
I should be used to it. I should just be used to Mike trying to ruin things.
Just go back to the fucking wasp analogy. I fucking swear.
Yeah, right.
Smash them right in the fucking pool.
Smash their heads into the pool is literally. So speaking of things reborn, G4, as some of you may know, is working on coming back. One of the things that they released on YouTube already is that a series called B4G4, and they've got like a fake CEO. It's played by a comedian out there. The CEO is called Jerry XL, played by YouTube sketch comedian Gus Johnson, per this Engadget article. And they're trying to find out what works, what doesn't work. They're literally working on trying to find new writers and new hosts and stuff like that, as they are working on bringing back G4 in total, along with Attack the Show and X-Play returning later this year. So they've already got some content out there. If it's something that you are excited on, bringing back G4, that is, then go out there and watch it, because this is the best way to let them know that you're excited about the return. And if you don't know what it is, go check it out anyway. Support gaming media. It's pretty cool.
So Another one of our favorite games, Phasmophobia. If you haven't played this yet, I don't know what rock you're living under, but you should. If you have a PC, it's $14.99 typically on Steam. Phasmophobia is a ghost hunter experience where you're the ghost hunter with you and up to 3 other people you can play to go into different scenarios that they've created. But they have actually put out another quality of life update. So some of the things that I didn't realize were issues, but kind of were issues, and here we are. I'm not going to read through all of them. You can look them up. It's the latest update. But one of the big ones that I saw was that they allow you to. It fixed a bug where you could, like, as a dead person, you could still grab doors. There was also a huge bug that, like, sometimes the ghost photos didn't work. So, like, if I took a picture, like, Brian wouldn't see the same thing that I saw. So they apparently fixed that. Some of the Ouija board stuff.
That was annoying.
Yeah, some of the Ouija board stuff was kind of messed up, along with the CCTV TV cameras were kind of messed up. They also made some slight changes to the maps with, like, different volumes of sounds and things. So a lot of quality of life things. Huge update, especially for one person. This is great, and he keeps pumping these things out. But go check it out online.
Yeah, apparently if you die, you can, like, interact with the Ouija board now, which is, like, friggin' cool.
Yeah. So yeah,
I might have read that wrong. If that isn't there, he needs to put that in there.
Yeah. It's a Kinetic game. It's literally one person developer. Go support him. It's $14.99. Even if you don't play it, just buy it. It's just a great game. Just go check it out.
Okay, so this one's a little weird. I saw it at first, and I'm not one that's good with, like, the idea of faces, but apparently, you know, a photographer or at least a person out there said, Activision stole my concept for a character. And I looked at this and I was like, I don't know. I'm terrible at faces. I can't tell if the same person or not. But, oh my God, it went so much deeper, because ends up, not only did he apparently steal the concept, did Activision steal the concept of the character, but they went so far. These are actual photos from the different photo shoots. The photographer's photo on the left, Activision's on the right. Activision apparently went out after he had posted on social media his concept that he was trying to, like, drum up interest in. They went out, they hired the same actress, the same makeup model or makeup artist, told the makeup artist to do the makeup the same way, to do the same hair extension, using literally the same hair extension that the makeup artist had, posed her in similar ways based on the photos that this photographer had done, to the point to create this model, which they just changed her name in, that they put into Call of Duty. Again, all allegedly. That's based off of the lawsuit that he has brought forward. And if so, understandably so.
Their only new piece of content is apparently stolen.
Possibly. Allegedly.
Go figure.
We don't know for certain yet.
Time will tell.
Looks like it. Also in Call of Duty news is something that I actually like. They went and banned 60,000 cheaters in one massive wave. They tweeted on it. They said, "We have zero tolerance for cheaters across Call of Duty and Warzone." That's pretty awesome. They also mentioned that to date, over 300,000 cheaters have been banned since Warzone's launch. So that's to date, whereas the other one was just a recent, like, massive ban. That's good. I support that. It's really nice that they are building more and more technology to detect people that are, you know, cheating in these games and getting rid of them.
Yeah. No fun for anybody.
And yeah, in PC, I guess, kind of hardware-esque news. It's been reported for a while that one of NZXT's products has been catching fire, specifically their H1 case, which is described as essentially a very large Xbox Series X looking case. It turns out that the screws on the H1's PCIe riser card are causing a short circuit, which can cause sparks to fly, smoke to generate, and eventually can just burn the H1 PCIe riser card entirely. Initially, NZXT was kind of like, no, it's cool. And then now they're like, no, we're bad. Like, we're sorry, we're bad. Like, it turns out, like, they had nylon screws implemented in the solution. And according to them, it is not the complete solution for the H1. So they're pulling all of them off shelves, and they're gonna go from there, I guess. They said that they're going to institute more robust and thorough design processes from the initial designs, QA to do additional testing, and that they're still committed to quality in both our products and our responses to your concerns, so long as you're willing to wait 3 months or so of your house burning down before you get it.
Of course, you had to ruin that at the end.
COVID-19 obviously isn't going anywhere. It's affecting everybody across the world. So some students actually in high school, actually grades 7 through 8, so middle school technically for US, were having issues, not being able to go to school. So what they decided to do was build their school in Minecraft, because why not? So after they built the school, it's actually a 2-to-1 ratio. The interesting part about this is that they actually hold their classes with their friends and everything inside the Minecraft world, because why not? So they were kind of upset about that, so they did that. It was actually created by 4 students, 7th grade and 8th grade. And the teacher kind of helped them get the server for the project. To create the model, they used basically their memory. So they used all of what they could remember as far as building the place. And then if it wasn't obvious, they'd ask their teacher to send them photos of the classroom and such going forward. It took about 150 to about 200 hours to complete this project, but super cool. I mean, literally 2-to-1 ratio of their own high school or middle school technically for US, but yeah, it was great.
I think what's amazing about this too is you see a lot of creative things done in Minecraft where they really blow up the scale so that they can use individual bricks to do a lot of detail, whereas they didn't do that here. They did this Minecraft person scale.
Yeah.
They've got fluorescent lights made out of lights behind trap doors on the ceiling, and the doors are actual Minecraft door size. And this is all workable and walkable through. It's absolutely amazing what these people did.
Unreal. I'll play Minecraft and it'll be like a bunch
lab
of boxes
is
stacked
insane.
on each other.
Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't make
just
sense.
The details they have in this lab are insane. They had a picture of their classroom in the main article that we saw, and that was insane. This whole thing, just the classroom here that we're looking at is got, the tables are really great. They've got ladders on the side for the legs of the tables. Really, really good detail work that they put in this.
Where do you find an elementary or middle school that looks this good? That's this nice? My goodness.
Apparently Czech Republic.
This is not, yeah. I was going to say,
right,
spoiler
yeah,
alert,
not
this
America,
is not in the
so.
U.S.
Yeah.
Not North America.
I was going to say, you should be familiar with Canada, but I guess not, so... All right, so that does it for our short news this week. And we roll into our email segments because emails are important. And this week, they are important because every voice will be heard. And starting with the first email that we did receive this week, because we did receive one, came from James the Great. James the Great, who's probably listening right now. Subject was, Bruno told me to. The body...
Oh, God.
The body says, Mike sucks. So... Thank you for that. I appreciate you bringing in that email that Bruno told you to do. He has mentioned that a few times in the past, and hey, you did it. That's great. We applaud you for that. I appreciate that. So
it's good seeing good fact-based emails coming in.
Yeah, always nice.
Oh man. So we got another email today, which is actually more important and actually an actual email and not some bullshit that someone wants to just slander all over the internet.
More of Dymyrn's bullshit.
This one is actually from one of our listeners, Daydrinker ATL, one of our followers and listeners in the podcast and things. Subject is My Tiny New Obsession. And I put in the notes, body redacted, because I didn't want everybody to know. I wanted to be able to make this a surprise for some people. So here we go. So this one says... hey guys, I've started a new hobby and I thought you might be interested in hearing about it since it's a little, in quotes, emphasis on little, unique. I'm putting together a miniature coffee shop. It's a 1 to 24 scale model, which means everything is 1/24th the size of the real thing. It's really small. And it's not a dollhouse. It's just meant to be decoration. You're probably thinking, Day Drinker really needs to lay off the booze. And you're probably right, but you'd be shocked to know that I'm not alone on the newly found interest. There's an entire subculture of miniature makers, and some of whom even make miniature food. My daughters and I like to watch Halloween do-it-yourself cooking shows on YouTube together. During one of our streaming sessions, the next video that began to play was from Jenny's mini cooking show. She made miniature cupcakes from scratch and using miniature baking tools in her miniature kitchen. I'm talking teeny tiny whisks, cupcake pans, cupcake liners, piping bags. She even baked them in her teeny tiny oven. Well, after watching enough miniature cooking videos, YouTube once again decided I should vary my viewing by sneaking in a do-it-yourself miniature greenhouse making video. So we were mesmerized. So last month, I decided to purchase one of those kits and take a stab at it building it. I have to admit, it was a little intimidating at first. There are a ton of pieces you have to cut out of boxes, plant leaves, milk cartons, and books that are printed out on included sheet of paper. But once I started, I found my groove. Much like playing video games, it was a nice way to relieve stress since it steals my focus. And my daughters love watching me put the miniature furniture together in some ways, so in some ways it's becoming a family activity. I told some of my friends about my coffee shop, and they responded with laughter, confusion, and interest. One friend jumped on the miniature bandwagon and bought a kit too. When she opened her kit for the first time, she texted, "You're an asshole," to me, and smiley face. And she says, "Don't worry, she's now addicted too." Another friend sent me a link to a miniature subreddit, which is fascinating. I've actually made some new friends while wandering through these rabbit holes who are incredibly talented. They've given me advice and are inspired my future projects. As for my coffee shop, I plan to complete it per instructions to get experience, but once I complete it, I'm going to be turning it into a crime scene, complete with the miniature crime scene tape and blood splatter. I'm sure this alteration doesn't surprise you. I did make one deviation though. The wall art wasn't exactly my style, so I covered it with some images from one of my husband's band's records. I really enjoy watching Got Our Attention and looking forward to Thursdays because of it. Keep up the good work, guys. Cheers, Day Drinker ATL. P.S. The first one of you who makes a joke about me being able to fit into my own miniature coffee shop because I'm barely 5 feet tall, or any variation of this joke, has to take a shot. So, Day Drinker ATL, thanks for sending the email in. That was fantastic. And so I had a bit, obviously I had to check the email out before it came in, and I started watching these videos, and these videos rubbed me the same way as ASMR videos rubbed me. And it's, I don't know what it is. It's a
Did you have to use the word rub?
Yes. So it's a very weird thing. I don't know what it is, like why ASMR is so odd to some people and not to others, why people think it's relaxing. And I just think it's anxiety. All I feel is anxiety. And watching...
You're getting off topic here.
Well, but watching the video of the little baking oven thing, like I saw one that was actually making spaghetti and meatballs, I think is what it was. And just watching the big hands make these tiny little things move, and everything was so quiet, and you could hear like it really aggravated the shit out of me, and I wanted to like throw something through the roof, and it was crazy, but it's just odd to me.
Mike,
the topic here is, this is the photo that friend of the podcast, Day Drinker, sent in that you need to describe to those that are listening to the podcast.
Okay.
That this is her handiwork. And this is amazeballs.
So no, the handiwork is great. Like looking at the products are great. So this picture she has is her actual coffee shop that she created from the DIY kit that she got. And it's like
she's got a counter space with little glass windows on it and little examples of like what you can buy at the coffee shop, like little pastries behind it. She's got a little wrapped present. She's got tiny little chairs. She's got another counter space that is open and looks like it's got like some brownies or something on it. And all of it looks fascinating and awesome. You're like, this is really cool. This is really detailed. It's amazing.
Oh, it's super detailed. Like,
no, but then then you look at it closer and you realize that propped up against one of the little counters is a quarter.
Yep.
It's got and the quarter is easily as tall or almost as tall as a chair. And that quarter there alone lets you realize how super teeny tiny this is and how detailed it is. And it makes it that much more amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the hobby aspect of this, of like actually putting, like she said, the little milk cartons up there that like she had to like fold out of paper or whatever. Like, that's super crazy. Like,
the
that's
milk
the
carton
detail.
Is barely taller than a dime.
Yeah, absolutely. The videos of watching things like this is what made me uncomfortable. Obviously, doing this, I could see how it could be a like a relaxing type of material, like thing to do. Because like, I mean, doing anything with my hand, like for me, crafting, like any sort of like cosplay or anything, always relaxes me in the sense of like building something. And I can see how this could do that too. And it is really neat. It's a super cool little space. And this is the first one that I guess this the Day Drinker did. And really cool on that. Like, I would love to see some more. Like, I saw some of the examples she sent in from like the other people, but yeah, like, send us more. I would love to put this on like some more. Yeah, I just personally can't watch the videos.
Like one of those. It looks like a fancy coffee shop almost, with like a little bit of a more creative flair to it. It looks really freaking cool.
I want to go. I now want to go to this coffee shop. I want to go to the real world coffee shop that Day Drinker opens, because clearly she's got some good ideas.
What is this, a coffee shop for ants? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, so bad jokes all day. It's all I have. I mean, literally, dad joke central has come through my body.
Your one good joke. Your one good joke was the Phoenix for the Reborn.
I thought that was good. And then
no, it was amazing. I was mad because I didn't think of it. I was mad because I didn't think of it. It was great.
So those are the emails we got this week. If you want to email us, email address is down below. If you're not watching, you can listen. But it's GOA, so got our attention, GOA at sasgaming.com. We'll read your emails out loud like we did just here. Tell us what you're doing. Like, that was really cool. Thank you, Day Drinker, for sending that in. Thank you, James Great, for sending in your feedback as well. I appreciate that. I'll work to not do better. So send those things in. We'd love to read that stuff out loud, and then, we'll talk about it. So this is what got our attention this week. If you're listening to the podcast right now, we obviously are on Twitch on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. So check us out if you can. If you can't catch the 9 p.m. because it's a little late for your area, because I know we have like Australian listeners, you can always check us out on YouTube. We put those videos up usually within a day or so after we broadcast this. So you definitely get to check it out there. And plus, sometimes Brian likes to throw in some like extra fancy After Effects or something, like, alert signs and things like that. So that's basically what got our attention this week. And if you like what you heard, I'm Xycia. You can check me out on Twitch at Xycia, so twitch.tv XYCIA. You can check me out on Instagram or Twitter by Xycia Gaming. And then Brian?
Yeah, you gotta be careful, Mike. I'll just edit stuff. Just put like a flashing alert, like right on your face. Yeah. Cover it right.
Here comes the wasp door.
No, oh my God, I'm totally gonna replace your face with a wasp face now. Except I wouldn't do that to our viewers, because someone out there would have a trigger on that and just freak out. Flashbacks to The Fly. Anyway, you can find me at Phoennix Nova, PHOENNIX_Nova on Twitch. Get rid of the underscore for Twitter. I'm also starting to get into the Instagram and trying to get a little bit more active on that, on some of the side projects I got. I've got a number of side projects that maybe even Day Drinker might be interested in, since they are kind of miniaturized in a certain way. But they're not quite ready. Probably about another month I'll have enough content so that I can start regularly releasing that.
Yeah, and then also your February release of all the free games that just came out. You posted on SAS. So check that out. If you're looking for free games for February, it's a really great video. It talks detail about the games that are available and where to get them.
On, I think, 11 minutes of free games on 6 different services.
Yeah, and we don't.
And what? Well, yeah, we don't get money for that. I'm just as a public service, I'm trying to let you know, hey, if you subscribe to this particular service, you're going to get these games for free. Go check them out. And if you don't subscribe and you're interested in subscribing for it, go do it now. And of course, like Epic Game Store is one you don't have to subscribe to. You just get a free game every 2 weeks or something like that.
What I was going to say is basically like, most YouTube's like videos you go to, you skip 45 to a minute in because you're going to wait through the subscribe and click the button and all this stuff. Like, that stuff doesn't happen on our channel. We were literally there to give you the information up front, get the information, and if you want to stick around and maybe subscribe later, cool, great. But we want to give you what you're clicking for is what we're going to try to provide to you. So,
not only do I get to the point quickly on those videos, but I put in chapter markers. So if you want to skip directly to what like Stadia might be giving you,
or not,
or Prime Gaming, like got you, Dymyrn. Or Xbox or PlayStation Plus, you can jump directly to that particular feature and just watch that part if you want.
Cool. Bruno, what you got?
You can catch me at Dymyrn
for outside.
Twitch, so that's DYMYRN, or at Dymyrn Gaming on Twitter. And I'm streaming more often, PoE, probably some Valheim. Who knows what else? Maybe some RimWorld. We'll see.
We're done. Shit. Okay. All right. Well, that's what got our attention this week. Like I said, you guys be safe. We hope everyone stays safe. We'll get over this together. It's gonna happen eventually. It's gonna be gone-ish. We'll get back to normal society, and we'll be all fun and games. And maybe we'll actually get to like hang out and do something. Maybe we'll go to like PAX and maybe have like a booth or something, or walk around and act like we have a booth. Or go to Dragon Con or something else. So hang tight, we'll be there. But for now, we're staying safe, wear a mask, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Y'all be easy.